Hi, everybody. Monaco64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Doing a live chat or live stream this afternoon. It's almost 4 o'clock London time. Just going to wait for people to show up. This is why the next financial crisis is baked in the cake. That's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to put on a video that I listened to today, and very interesting. It's called, and I'll put the link to this video below in the description of this live stream once it's recorded and published as a video. And it's entitled Rothschilds Snub Queen Elizabeth II at the Bank of England Visit. And there's an interesting video. Let's see. We've got 16 people watching already. Three thumbs up. Thank you. I've signed up to Super Chat, as you can see. People can donate if they'd like. Hi, I'm Mario from London. Roma Lawal, Hugo Jarava, hello. So earlier today, after I did my early morning video about the markets, I was watching the markets and they're really interesting. One thing I noticed today, and I like to point out, and this is why I'm talking about financial crisis, is that things seem to be moving a little bit in an unusual fashion. Silver and gold, I will talk about that DAX in a minute. But what I noticed this morning was that gold was doing really well, almost got up to 1,300, while the euro and the pound were plummeting. But the dollar was going down against the yen, and the yen, Japanese yen, is usually when the Japanese yen strengthens, it's a sign that people are taking risk off the table and that they're worried. But then I went out with my wife, came back early afternoon, and I've noticed that gold has come back down. We're back down to 1290, almost unchanged. And they took silver down quite sharply. It's still down 1%, while gold is unchanged right now. The Dow Jones also is only down 120 points now. It was down almost 200 points earlier today before the market opened. So I think there's something going on here. The other thing that I've been keeping an eye on is Europe, particularly Italian government bonds. The yield on these are the 10-year yield on the 10-year BTP, which is the Italian government bond, is up 8 basis points today. It's been up as much as 15 basis points, but it's still at 2.4%. So who we got here now? Pretty sunny in Miami. How about in the UK? It was sunny this morning, a little breezy, and now it's a bit cloudy, but the weather is nice for the UK. PEH2, British taxpayers will be expected to pick up as much as half of the estimated 83 million royal wedding tab. Yeah, that's another scam, isn't it? PH2. I didn't even follow that. Not that I'm against people getting married, and I wish Prince Harry and his wife all the best, but I couldn't care less, and I don't know why the British taxpayers should fund that. Prince Harry, when his mother died, inherited money from her, so he could have paid for it. Antonio Teixeira, always a pleasure, sir. Great channel. Keep up the good work. A lot to cover concerning the shenanigans played by the players at the top of the pyramid. David Johnson, is it worth keeping fiat at home, or would scrap gold, silver coins be a good addition? I guess it is worth keeping some fiat money at home. And a mixture of silver, scrap silver, silver coins. Yes, I don't keep too much fiat at home, really. I have in the past, but Yeah, at the moment, I think when the next crisis comes, it's going to be really bad. I guess it's good to maybe have some fiat money at home. And why? What? So I'm going to play here to you guys, as I said, I'm going to put the link. I'll put the link right now on the chat, so you can also have a look at it. I thought it was really interesting, and believe me, I'm not pro monarchy or anything, but I just thought it was interesting. I'll put this on now.
After having been guided through the bank's gold vault, the Queen finally got an answer to a question she controversially posed 4 years ago. Here at a visit to the London School of Economics in 2008, she was heard asking why nobody noticed the economic downturn coming. Back to today, and
he and his group here are going to answer your question from 4 years ago, why nobody saw the crisis coming.
And after a brief explanation, another question, this time from the Duke.
There's another one coming.
But the Queen...
So there you go. The Duke, that's the Queen's husband, said, so when is the other one coming? And this was in 2012, and he's right. Hugo Jarava, the royals are not human. Well, I don't get into that kind of stuff, David Icke stuff. I think it's a bit silly. I think they are humans. By saying that they're not humans, we kind of admit that they are more powerful than us. So but what really interested me was Prince Philip's, or the Duke of Edinburgh's, comment and he asked the people at the Bank of England, when's the next one coming then? And he's right, there will be a next one. And the reason why I think there will be a next one is because they haven't fixed the monetary system is still corrupt. It's still unstable. It's still based on thin air, on debt. And the bankers, they did not, related to my, how can I say, my video earlier today, where I said that after the crisis of '08, the people who behaved recklessly were rewarded. I'd like to continue, and that's why I think the crisis is going to be even worse, because the people who behaved recklessly haven't changed their behavior. The Bank of England's still around, the Fed's still around, fiat money's still around. They've changed some of the accounting to make things look better. So they're giving all the wrong signals, and it's going to be like the Queen said, how come we didn't see it coming? And it's going to be the same thing. Of course, we will have seen it coming. So let's see some of the questions here. BC Joey, the sanctions on Iran have dropped out of the news for Hawaiian lava flows. France and Germany were threatening to ignore the sanctions. No news on Deutsche Bank, who is insolvent. I saw Deutsche Bank headline today from Zero Hedge. They're going to get rid of 10% of their staff, or 10,000 people. Judith Kernahan, sick of the corruption. Bond market straight up. Silver, gold looks, crypto down today. How do they get away with it? Well, they get away with it because it's a club, Judith. You notice like countries like Turkey, the Turkish lira has been dropping quite a bit recently, but the Turkish 10-year yield goes up, their bonds go down. But in Europe or in the UK, the pound's been dropping a lot. What happens to the gilt yields? They go down. That's because the Bank of England and the central banks, and the BIS, they keep printing money to buy the paper to keep rates artificial. Well, by the way, just to let you know, I did sign up to the super chat that people were talking about yesterday when I made my chat. So there is a super chat here if anyone's interested, the little dollar sign. So let's see here. Steven with an M. Hi, Mario. Hope you get more intelligent comments and questions today. Do you have any favorite tools for market analysis? I do. I like technical analysis, retracements, trend lines, support and resistance, cycles, and I also look at fundamental analysis for markets. David Johnston Royals probably have old blood. Well, I don't want to go into all the discussion about the royals, if they're, lizards or things like that. I was just showing you that comment by the Queen's husband, and I think it was really interesting that he said that in the Bank of England. When is the next crisis coming? And there will be a next crisis, because that's how the system is run. It's a pump and dump scheme. That's what the central banks do. They pump and dump. Right now, they're pumping all the debt. I just saw a video that Yvonne Nutter, one of the viewers, sent me from Mike Maloney, and he was talking about revolving credit and how it's actually gone negative in the States. And usually that happens in the beginning of a recession. So I think, yeah, they've pumped and dumped. They've pumped the debt. People have bought into it. And, out of the blue, one day they'll pull the plug and we'll have another huge crisis. And the people, at the top will know when it's going to happen. And they're going to become more and more wealthy, and the public's going to be poorer and poorer. And that's why I do these videos too, so we can protect ourselves. That's why I always encourage people to be in as little debt as possible. How do you do that? I mean, that's up to each individual. We need to live within our means, try to save with some real money as well, gold and silver. Even look at living out in the country, having a small farm. I don't live in a farm. I've never farmed before, but it's even if you're not going to have a farm, maybe live near where there are farms, so that you have access to food, some crops and stuff, and that you're near the farms. Let's see. Great content, Mario. D's nuts. Great content, Mario. Based on technical analysis and fundamental, what's your target price for Bitcoin? May 28th. I haven't really looked at the price of Bitcoin, the technicals. At the moment, I think, the cryptocurrencies seem to be going, I know they're down today, but they seem to be going nowhere quickly. Let me have a look here just at the chart, see what I think. Right now it looks like we're in the range between 6 and 10,000. So we could even go further down, in Bitcoin to 7,000. So yeah, I'll say 7,500 by May 28th. Fix it, stupid. I have 2 wind generators. Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's something good to have. My wife and I, we do live in London, but it's fairly outside London. We're only, I would say, 15, 20 minutes from the countryside. What happens in Venezuela will change the world. Well, yeah, it's been happening for a few years. And actually, I was thinking that we might get the same kind of thing in Venezuela, in the UK, the hyperinflation, because we've got interest rates almost at zero. They're like 0.5%. We have our currency, it's dropped from 143 a few weeks ago to 133. The pound used to buy over $2 in 2008. Now it buys 133. And I think it's all a mirage. House prices for people in the UK seem elevated, but in real terms, they're not. And I think the Bank of England has just kept interest rates too low. And there's going to be a point where people lose confidence in the Bank of England, who are the issuers of the currency, the fiat currency. And when that happens, I think we could see a lot worse happening to the UK, and people will lose confidence in the currency. And I think that's what's already happening. People who buy property, that's kind of a symptom of that. BC Joey, thank you, BC Joey. You're using the super chat, and thanks for telling me about it yesterday. I think it was you who told me about it. Hi, Timmy Chonga, how are you? Hi, Timmy. I know you look at silver a lot. It's a bit weird today. It looks like they're using silver to keep gold down because gold is having a really good day today in spite of the dollar being really strong against the pound and the euro. And the only way they've been able to keep gold down, and even right now as I speak, gold is unchanged on the day, while the pound is down 0.2% and the pound. But look at silver, it's down 1%. It doesn't make sense. I noticed that silver was whacked down just on the COMEX open, the regular hour open, which is around, I think, 8:25 a.m. New York. That's when they started smacking silver lower. So it's almost like the little Dutch boy trying to cover the holes in the dike. You know, they're struggling. I think eventually nothing will stop real assets from going higher. Let's have a look here. Adam Blanche, were communists like Venezuela too, only capitalists in name? Well, Adam Blanche, I think when people say that Venezuela is what's happening in Venezuela is just because they're socialists, I don't think that has anything to do with it. Because you can have hyperinflation in a capitalist, well, not in a capitalist, but we could have hyperinflation in the UK. We are socialists here, I mean, and in Europe as well. It's a monetary phenomenon. It has nothing to do with really the system of government. It's just when you have fiat money, you print too much of it. That's what happens. Marie, when will the gold and silver prices ever go way up? Seems never to change. Yeah, I mean, it is frustrating. It is a long-term thing. And for example, today actually we went up quite a bit in the other currencies, in euros and pounds. But the thing about gold that you have to look at it, it's like money. It's saving. It might right now it might not be like rewarding people, but in the long term, it will always be there. It's physical. It's safe. There's no counterparty risk. And the other thing I want to talk about is this corrupt central banking fiat money system is a private. It's a hybrid, like private and government-run system. And I think the more we get, I actually think that the cryptocurrencies and blockchain might help people get away from this corrupt system. I know a lot of people don't buy into cryptocurrencies or the blockchain, but I really believe blockchains like Steemit or EOS could help. How it will work, I don't know, but I still believe that gold and silver are the ultimate protection, monetary-wise. It provides instant liquidity, but there's other things like hard assets and tangible goods. Those are good as well. Even your home or your property, if it's unencumbered by debt, some land, and also yourself. Someone asked me yesterday in the live chat, what should I do $10,000? And I gave my opinion, but I forgot to say, also invest in yourself. If you have some kind of skill and you could exploit that skill, use some of that money on yourself. Don't invest in a company you don't even know about just because you think the stock price is going to go up. So yeah, gold and silver have been frustrating, but I recommend if people haven't bought physical gold or silver, to do it. It's only when you buy it and you hold it, you realize that it's quite precious and it's actually holds its value. Am I saying that it's everything? Of course not. There are a lot more important things in life than just money, but it will protect you. James Kavanaugh. Oh, thank you, Daniel P. He's sent me some Swedish krona, and also Kampa Mitja sent me some euros through the super chat, so that's working well. James Kavanaugh, capitalism, too big to fail, also includes the flip side, which is too small to succeed. Not good, not democracy. Well, James Kavanaugh, the capitalism you're talking about, I think is more like fascism. The way I see capitalism and free markets is with small governments. And you're only too big to fail if government helps. If government is too small to save businesses, you have true capitalism. So I don't actually believe in democracy. I believe in individual rights, the individual, not the collective. And of course, I believe in the Bill of Rights, the rights of the individual. But I think democracy is more the rule of the mob. And the reason we've got what the system we got now, and it's not even capitalism, it's kind of a fascism. You've got big government, big banks, big corporations. That's because the public has been brainwashed into voting for such things, for war, welfare. So I don't agree with that. I think true capitalism and free market with small government is the way forward. I don't think democracy always ends in bankruptcy. Because people always you create factions in democracy, and one group votes to take away from the other. But if you protect the individual and you have small government, there will be no too big to fail. You can't have too big to fail in in a true free market capitalist system. Companies fail; they're not bailed out. So it wasn't capitalism that bailed out the banks in '08. They were governments. BC Joey, the petro yuan will return value to gold. Yeah, I think so. A bit by default, because that will mean that there won't be as much demand for dollars as well, and you could see people who sell gold who sell oil in yuan might want to, instead of having yuan, they might go and exchange that yuan for gold. And they will be able to do that because the Shanghai Futures Exchange allows you to take delivery of physical gold. PH2, are you a proponent of Bitcoin, but isn't it just a fiat currency? Bitcoin it isn't really a fiat currency. It was developed by the market as a protocol, and you have to mine it as well. It's not created very easily. It costs to mine. Fiat currency is usually created by governments by decree, by force. No one forces people to buy Bitcoin. But I think Bitcoin and the blockchain is evolving. Maybe in 5-10 years time, Bitcoin still be around, but I think there will be better blockchains. Marco Zander sent me some dollars through Super Chat. Thank you, Marco. These nuts. I buy platinum, gold, and silver with crypto profits. EOS was a pump and dump. I made $500 on it. Totally overvalued. Well, I don't think so. I think EOS has a future. Personally, earlier this year it went up to $18 and dropped all the way down to like $4. I bought some more there, and then it went up to 23, and it's dropped again. But I think it has a future. Chung Chen, Mario, I made it finally. Woo! Hi, Chung Chen. Nice to see you here. Jane Reynolds, thank you for the contribution on Super Chat. America Luigi, hello. Sorry I had to miss some of this episode. When do you think the crisis will happen? Well, America Luigi, that's like the $64,000 question. I can't say when, but it's certain that it will happen, because if anything, after the last crisis that was almost brought the whole system down, they haven't done anything, and by they I mean the central banks, the politicians, the bank, and our political leaders. They haven't done anything to make the system honest and less susceptible to crisis. But when it's going to happen, It's difficult to say. But it doesn't hurt to be prepared and to be aware that it can happen. Axel, what is your opinion on boom and bust cycles after the redistribution of wealth? Isn't the phenomenon too blatant? Of course it is. But you and I are aware of that. The pump and dump that the powers that be use. They've been using it for like over 100 years now. Since the creation of the Federal Reserve, it's getting worse and worse, and the 1% is getting wealthier and wealthier. Hopefully, maybe people are waking up to it, but under an honest monetary system or a free market monetary system, let's say with a gold backing or a base in gold, an anchor of gold and silver. It's really a lot harder to inflate credit bubbles as much because they act as an anchor. But in a fiat money system where you can create money out of thin air, it's very easy to do that. And so it gets easier in a fiat money system to do the pump and dump and to redistribute the wealth. And it's ironic because politicians and the leftists and even people on the right, they say that a gold standard would wouldn't help create wealth, but under a fiat money system, all it's done is create inflation and crisis, and the public and the average individual and families, they've gotten worse off and worse off. But they think that more money is the best thing, but money is just like a utility. It's wealth that matters, and production and activity. America Luigi, thanks. Monaco City for you. Welcome. Argentina has 40% interest rates at the moment. Yeah, this is Argentina's. That happened like a week or two ago. They're having problems right now. What are your PH2? What are your thoughts on the creature from Jekyll Island? I've read the book years ago, and very interesting. They used the crisis of 1907 to start looking, as an excuse to create the Federal Reserve. They said that the Federal Reserve system would stop all the crises, would make the currency elastic. They said, use that term, but it's actually made things worse. We had a huge crisis in 2008 under central bank and fiat money. Counterserve International. US dollar can't fail as there's no direct competition to US dollar. Petroleum is not a direct threat. There is no such thing as petrodollar. Oil represents only 5 to 10% of US backing. Well, the thing about the petrodollar Counterserve International is that every country in the world now that needs to buy oil, they need the dollar because oil is priced in dollars, and there is a petrodollar. I'm sorry, maybe you don't know the history, but Henry Kissinger negotiated with the Saudis, who were at the time the biggest oil producers in the 70s, that they would only sell their oil in dollars. Why don't they sell it in Saudi Riyal? Counterserve International. So and the dollar will fail because the dollar is, backed by nothing. It's backed by, it's backed by maybe the oil and also by that debt, but there's no anchor to the dollar. That's the whole thing. And that's the problem with fiat money. You create so much of it that it collapses. Jane Reynolds, thank you very much for your contribution to the super chat. And no, you're welcome. So Censorship International, now there's a lot of other resources backing it up too. Only because the US goes around the world forcing people to use the dollar, but I think that is changing, Counterserve International. And I don't, and I think it would be the best thing to happen for the US, because I think having the reserve currency especially as a fiat reserve currency, what the US has had to do is inflate the dollar even more. Because why do they have to inflate the dollar? Because other countries need to have dollar to back their own currency. So what would the other countries do? They try to export as much to the US so they can earn dollars. And that's the other reason you have such a problem with the trade deficit. You know, Donald Trump blames other countries for the trade deficit, but I think the problem, he needs to look himself in the mirror, or the United States does. The reason why the US has a huge trade deficit and imbalance is because we have a fiat dollar. We didn't have trade imbalances and balance of payments problems when under Bretton Woods, when the system was backed by gold. Tom Manley, our military backs the buck. Yeah, I agree. But how long will they be able to do that if people don't keep financing the dollar and the dollar loses value? Look at the Soviet Union. They used to finance their ruble by force, but when the system imploded, their ruble was worthless. Yeah, Jeff Richards, the US dollar is backed by the tax slaves, and also here in the UK. That's why, you know, even though governments could print the money without any interest to finance things and wouldn't need to tax things, it's the bankers that impose the tax. Is it any wonder that the income tax was, you know, reimposed, you know, for the first time since the Civil War, when the Federal Reserve Bank was created, or the system? No, because the bankers need to make the fiat money worth something, and the only way they can do that is by taxing people, by having slaves, basically. Because who wants to pay tax? It's as Frederick Bastiat said, tax is legalized plunder, and that's what we've got, unfortunately. The US dollar and oil going up at the same time. Thoughts, Maneko? Yeah, usually when the dollar is weak, or, you know, oil goes up. But don't forget that I think oil has been going up a little earlier than the dollar. Yeah, it's unusual to see the dollar and the dollar and oil going up at the same time. It's not good for other countries. I've noticed here in the UK, the price of fuel, like diesel, has gone up from 120p or something, and now it's like 135 per gallon. D-Nuts, Mario, your thoughts on the South African government repatriation without compensation, taking business farms from whites to give to natives, how will it affect platinum prices? I don't know how it's going to affect platinum prices. If anything, the more the South African government does stuff like that, it will probably hurt platinum. It will probably help platinum prices, because people won't have confidence in owning business in South Africa, and the supply of platinum will probably drop. Let's see. Tom Manley, if the American taxpayer is backing the dollar, we are in trouble. The dollar is almost worthless, therefore, so are we. Bud McDonald, what do you believe will be the catalyst to a reset? Thanks, Mario. I think the catalyst will be the next financial crisis. If you remember well, I think after the '08 crisis, they created the G20, and they had a huge meeting. I think it was in London, and Gordon Brown set that up, and I think that wasn't a reset, but I think the next crisis will need a reset, a complete redrawing of the system. Hopefully, we won't be dependent on that. We'll be able to survive outside the system. And can we trust them to really build something new? But I think it's a crisis that will bring a reset. Jane Reynolds, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin and where it may be headed. Yeah, I think Bitcoin still, yeah, it still has a future, of course, and where it's headed, I'm not sure, but it's always difficult to predict the prices. I think the consolidation we've had and the correction has been longer than people thought, but I think we could go further up because still a lot of very few. It's a limited supply. I think we've got 16 million mines so far, and the limit is 21 million. And the population of the world almost 8 billion. So it's a limited supply. So I think it should continue to do well, but I think there are other technologies in the blockchain that might limit a little bit. Uh, what Bitcoin will do, like people who were extrapolating 3-4 years ago that Bitcoin would be at such a price, they might have to revise that as better technologies come along. Truth, money, and freedom. Yeah, £1.35 per liter. I'm sorry, yeah, not per gallon. You're right. But yeah, I've noticed that it's gone up from around just up above 120 recently. And the drop in the pound and the price of and the rise in the price of oil is not helping at all. And I think the UK consumer, like the American consumer, is really stretched. People won't talk about it because almost everyone's doing it. They have everything on credit. They book their holidays on credit. They max out their credit cards. They even shop for food with credit cards. All the cars they buy are on car finance. Young people get thousands and thousands of pounds to buy a car. They don't need to show any credit rating. Truth, money, and freedom. And Echo, do you see the population as part of our near future? It definitely could be if our system really collapses and implodes. And by our system, I mean the credit-fueled system. And I'm not knocking specialization and the indirect exchange. I'm not saying we should go back to bartering and subsistence farming, for example. But I think the world's become too specialized. Yeah, and I think that is something that is possible if the whole thing implodes, and that's not a nice thing. Uh, if you notice, in the last 50 years, world population has zoomed up. And I think one of the reasons that's happened is because of the fiat money system. It's allowed things to happen that would not have happened under an honest money system. We've created too much credit, too much consumption, and the system needs the credit and consumption to keep going. So it's unsustainable. So yeah, that's a good question, actually. Truth, money, and freedom. Is that what the powers that be want? Maybe. I've read stories and read about the Georgia Guidestones and that they want a population of 500 million. You never know. So we've been going on for 38 minutes. So the title of the live stream was about the next crisis, financial crisis is baked in the cake. And and the reason I said that is because I think they haven't done anything to punish the bad actors in the last crisis. And I don't think the bankers were the only bad actors, but also the people that abused the system, people who took on too much debt. And so there's two sides of the coin. And people haven't learned. So that's why I think the next crisis will be even worse, because they really haven't done anything to reform things. I even saw today that the U.S. Congress has passed a bill to make regulations less onerous for financial institutions. Greg Perry, hi Echo. I was wondering if you could do a tutorial video for how to go about purchasing cryptos, specifically EOS. I have an interest in buying some, but find the process confusing. Yeah, I mean, EOS, you can buy it on an exchange right now. If you go on worldcoinindex.com and you click on the EOS, it will show you all the exchanges where it's traded. If you think it's too complicated to do it through the ICO process, buy it on an exchange. But one thing I would say is once you buy it in an exchange, send it to your wallet, and then you go into eos.io and you register your wallet with them, because you need to register and have a public blockchain, public address and private address. But maybe I'll do a video because we've only got about 9 days left until it goes mainnet. Bud McDonald, what will future currencies look like post-crisis/reset? What do you believe governments will push or support? Well, I think they will have to go on back to some kind of gold backing. They might go look at cryptocurrencies, but I don't think governments and cryptocurrencies go hand in hand, because governments are always centralized, cryptocurrencies are decentralized, or maybe hopefully governments won't even be involved in currencies in the future. I think that would be the ideal thing. You know, governments aren't involved in producing bread or food. It's farmers, and yeah, why should we have governments involved in money? So that's what my thinking, but it's difficult to say what's going to happen exactly. No. Hey everyone, mash that like button below the chat and show Maneko 64 some love. Click the like button, share the video for your friends. Yeah, thank you, No. And just to let people know, I have signed up to Super Chat. It was really easy. I didn't realize. So now as well, I've got Super Chat if anyone would like to donate directly through the live stream. And I thank all the people who have already today. Richard McCorkindale, governments looking to restore confidence in the currency won't go to crypto. Let's replace the ghost of money with the whisper of the ghost. Yeah, I don't think they will go to crypto. If they want to stay in control of money, they'll have to go back to. It's not even they gotta be honest again, and I don't trust governments. So we'll see. We'll see what they'll do. Jeff Richards, the problem with a gold-backed currency is that they can print more money than we have gold. Actually, maybe I said it wrong. We won't go to a gold-backed currency. We'll go to gold and silver as currencies, only gold. And the government won't be able to, we should see promissory notes should be banned. So we'll only be able to deal in physical gold and silver. That's how I see it, 100% backing. I agree, governments always cheat. PH2, there's a school of thought that there will be a period of deflation bringing precious metals down first before they increase. Harry Dent. Well, yeah, Harry Dent has been calling for that for years. I don't think Harry Dent, because he says that during the Great Depression in the late 20s and early 30s that the dollar went up. So he figures that if we have another crisis that the dollar will go up. But he forgets, and it's quite amazing because he's a Harvard educated person. He forgets that the dollar in the late 20s and early 30s was gold. So I disagree with him. I think gold will be the thing to have. So that's what I think about Harry Dent. I agree with his talk about the demographics, but yeah, David Shinheimer. However, how do you think about Martin Armstrong's prediction of Dow 50,000? Well, that would just be another symptom of the dollar being worthless. 50. That's hyperinflation. Low. Albert List. Low. This guy thinks known people made Bitcoin. Low. Alan Greenspan. Yeah. Oh, is that Big Swear? Yeah, Big Swear he's a nice guy and everything, but he has some wacky theories. He thinks there's millions of tons of gold under in the Grand Canyon. So, and he thinks Big Swear thinks that Alan Greenspan is the creator of Bitcoin. I find that hard to believe. Kev JK1, where's Billy? Well, he's on the other side of the house, is with my wife right now. So he didn't want to come in to the room. He's around though. He'll be back. Billy will be back. Don't worry. S, I might wallpaper a wall or two. I like it. Need high quality. Timmy Chung Maneko, will China end up being the sole custodian of gold and silver prices? They could end up controlling. I mean, but other countries like I actually don't think so, because I don't think China wants to control the gold price like the U.S. does. So yeah, I don't think there will be the sole custodian. It will be the market that will be the control of the gold prices. Or maybe we can go back to where there is no price for gold, where gold is just the money and everything revolves around gold. And when we talk about grams of gold and ounces of gold, but China, India, they definitely have a lot of gold, but right now, unfortunately, it's controlled by the boys in New York, London, and Basel, the BIS, with paper. Extended clips. Peace, dear Maneko from California. Hey, nice to see you. What else have we got here? PH2, if stock market crashes, will Fed keep increasing interest rates, or will they use QE for helicopter money and universal income? I think a lot of people think the Fed will always revert now to QE if there's a crisis. I personally don't think so. I think they'll let it all go because, as I said before, central banks are the biggest scams, the biggest pump and dumpers. So you need to dump it as well, so that the people who control the central banks, the very wealthy, the big fortunes in the world, they can go in and buy real assets for pennies on the dollar. So I think I think they've tried to deceive people into thinking that they will always be there. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. GG, if there's no more oil left to steal, no more dictators, what pretext can they come up with to start wars for profits? Terrorism. That's what they use now, isn't it? And also to protect Israel now as well, against Iran. And I'm sure they will always find pretext, GG. They're good at that. They have a lot of the think tanks to do that job for them, like Chatham House in the UK, which is the Royal Institute for International Affairs. They've got the CFR in New York, and they got millions of dollars endowed to these think tanks so they can think of new pretexts and also think of new economic, theories like universal basic income. Yeah, unfortunately, these people have a lot of power. Yeah, and also Jake Haslam, the Bilderberg. Yeah, Bilderberg, I think, is related to the CFR and Chatham House. They're all related, those groups. Carlyle Group. Uh, Albert List, Alan Greenspan is still the best computer programmer in the world. Maybe, I don't know. So Center Serve International, reason they are in Syria is to make sure China and Russia don't get across European and West Silk Road for petrol you want. Yeah, and also for the gas pipelines, they want gas pipelines coming from the Gulf countries, not from Iran. So that's the other reason there. And they also don't like Assad. They want regime change. Jane Reynolds, how do people of the world pressure to get rid of central banks? Are cryptos the way? And if so, then this should be highlighted more to the general public who are asleep. I agree, Jane Reynolds. But when you talk to people about cryptocurrencies, all they know it's Bitcoin, and they look at you with disdain. They think it's a big scam and a bubble, but they don't realize that the fiat money is even worse. So it's the cognitive dissonance. That's what they do. I personally think I still hold on to my gold and silver, but I think it's good to have exposure to the blockchain and cryptocurrencies. And I'll keep saying it, Tim Wilkinson, give me a shout, M64. Hi, Tim Wilkinson. Have you got a question? Donald Bump, epic, finally at a live event. Yeah, nice to see you, Donald Bump. I guess there's no pun intended there, is there, Donald? David Shin, now we need to focus on defense stocks. If there's a war, I guess, a lot of stocks will do well, not only defense, but also stocks that provide stuff to the army, equipment. Hi, Brian DeMastro. Hi, how are you doing? Donald Bump, I love your channel. Keep up the good work. Side note, let's say that you get a broker you recommend. You use their affiliate link to make some extra money. Yeah, I could look into that. I mean, here in the UK, I'm in the UK, so I could do that. I try not to, I have done sponsored videos for ICOs in the past. I haven't done that many anymore. I'm try to be careful with those things. I prefer doing this and getting the super chat contributions. And even though I'm still being censored quite a bit by YouTube, a couple of days ago they didn't censor me, and I did quite well. So not too concerned, but I will look into that. The thing is, I try to maybe not get too commercialized, because then people start saying that I'm shilling for brokers or shilling for precious metals dealers, and I don't want that. The Business Inquiry, I don't know if it's against the chat rules, but if anyone need help pushing their business forward, we can talk. I might be able to advise. Email me at newsletter@thebusinessinquiry.com. The Maestro, could you outline your thesis for summertime financial activity? Well, usually, what do you mean, like what the market's going to do in the summer? It's difficult to say. I don't know. Usually it's things start heating up in the autumn, don't they, or in the fall? I don't know there's an old saying of sell in May and go away, but I haven't really looked at the seasonality at the moment, Brian. But maybe I'll have a look, and we can discuss that. What is your speculation, Maneko64? What am I speculating on at the moment? Well, I think gold and silver are not speculation, they're savings, so that's not my speculation. I do have some mining stocks, and I also have some cryptocurrencies that I'm speculating in. I think they're more speculation, but money like gold and silver are not speculation. Steve Hen 1000, how do you buy EOS? I haven't done a video about that, but I'm sure if you Google it, you can find it. If you go to the YouTube channel, The Awakenment, Kyle, he's really good. He's got loads of videos about that. And you can buy it on an exchange, but you got to make sure you register them before June 1st. Because they're going to turn into EOS tokens. Right now, they are EOS ERC20 tokens. David Shin, Maneko, thanks for your advice every day. But would you say it is okay to buy gold through Gold Money in terms of security and transparency? Yeah, I think it's fine, Gold Money. If you want to buy it through them, it's not a problem. What else have we here? Business inquiry. By the way, the business inquiry. By the way, Maneko, as long as you say that it's a paid sponsorship, YouTube will not censor you. I don't have a problem with YouTube censoring me because it's a paid sponsorship. They're censoring me just for my views without without it being sponsored. I don't make that many sponsored videos at all. They're just censoring my content now. The business inquiry. GG, you should have a fan meetup. Yeah, maybe we should go to the Anarchapulco conference. That's one of the Dollar Vigilantes meetup. That could be interesting. Ton Malley, buy gold and hold. Yeah, I think that's good. What else is my speculation, Brian, right now? Well, my speculation actually means trying to look into the future. My speculation, really, my big speculation is that the whole financial system is completely rotten to the core and that it will come crashing down one day, but I don't know when. That's my speculation. So, yeah, I'm going to be doing this for an hour, this chat. So we've got another 2 minutes or so. I'm just going to look at some more questions here. Silver Jam, it's been a while since I've opened my Exodus wallet, but I think that they may exchange other cryptos for EOS. Let's see. Root Wave, best place to look into buy gold and silver. Where are you, Root Wave? In the UK, I recommend Atkinson's bullion. If you Google Atkinson bullion, I recommend that dealer in the UK. In the US, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I couldn't tell you in the US. Swiss America Silver, I've heard of them. They're good. But just make sure you find a reputable dealer. Let's see. Stephen 1000, isn't the amount of currency in circulation limited to the amount of currency on deposit in the bank? Yeah, I mean, physical cash and currency is only a fraction of all the, the money in the system. That's why, or the credit. That's why when you get a crisis, you get bank runs because there's not enough cash in the system. If everyone went to cash out their money, there wouldn't be enough physical cash. D-Nuts, Mario, I would like to send dollars through Super Chat, or can you post your Bitcoin or LTC to contribute? Appreciate. I've got Super Chat now, D's Nuts, if you'd like to use, the Super Chat. but I'll send you my Bitcoin address. Let me get that for you. Let's see. Just getting the address, but I've registered for Super Chat already, so you could technically use that. Let me get my Bitcoin address. That's my Bitcoin address there, these nuts. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming on the live stream. I enjoy doing these, and I'll keep doing them. Maybe also on the comment section in my videos, if you could tell me what kind of subject you'd like me to cover, that could help. Sometimes it's difficult to always come up with new ideas and subjects every day, and not try to be repetitive. So I thank you, thank everyone for the contributions on Super Chat as well, and also thank everyone who told me about Super Chat. And have a great rest of the day. Thank you, Timmy Chonga. Thank you, everyone. And Billy will be back. So take care. Goodbye.